All right, hey, it's Kevin Baas here, Vintage Bike Addiction. I'm here to fix my hog today, taking a look at my 1957 Panhead. It's actually my son's Panhead. He's got it now, which is kind of cool. There's a big story to that we're going to talk about. But we're going to take a look at this bike and explain a few things about it, talk about the history, but also show that a bike like this is going to be going to a big show called Mama Tried. If you're not familiar with Mama Tried Bike Show, look it up, mamatried.com, Mama Tried Bike Show on social media. One of the biggest, coolest motorcycle shows in the country. It's held downtown historic Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's one that you don't want to miss. This bike was picked to be in the show this year, and that's what's kind of different about this type of a show is they hand-pick the bikes they want to have in the show on display. So not just everybody gets in, you know, I mean, and they go through thousands and thousands of entries, and they hand-pick bikes for unique reasons. You know, there's a lot of bikes that people build that are all cool, but they want to hear about a story and see about cool things. And this one's got a really cool story because I'm a high school shop teacher. I started doing motorcycles with my students back in the early 2000s, and this was the first Panhead that I did with my kids in class. And this bike has been all over the country. It's been in magazines across the nation, and it was gone for a while. I had to sell it, trade it off. Buddies had it, and it came back, and now it belongs to my son. So there's a really cool history on this bike. The soul this bike has. It's changed the look many, many times through its lifetime. I even wrote a book back in 2006 about it, highlighted the whole build from start to finish. You can see it looks a little different then from what it does now, but there's some similarities. And we're actually going to go through this bike, and we're going to do some changes before we take it to Mama Tried, and kind of make it look more close to how it used to be when it was first built. So starting at the back side of here, we have just a hardtail frame. So no swing arm on this style bike, it's just a rigid frame. Hence on this style now there's some springs in the seat. Originally when it was built, I had a seat pan that just sat directly right on the frame rails. So no suspension at all, which is a little bit tough on the kidneys in the back. But you know, when you're young, you think that you're feel no pain, you go for it. As the years progress, you know, you add springs, you do different things, but we're going to go back to this style seat for the show, just to kind of show the nostalgia of it and the history. This seat was actually made by Paul Cox. If anybody's familiar with Paul Cox, he's one of the top leather tooling seat makers in the country. He was partnered with Indian Larry and the Indian Larry Legacy Motorcycles, so a cool piece there. Going to get that back on. With an old Panhead like this, normally it would have been a mechanical style drum brake. This one here's got a little bit more new technology, or it was morphed with a hydraulic rear brake for a little bit better stopping power with the rotor rather than a drum, which is cool. The rear fender was just an old trailer fender that we modified. You can see that we drew up some spiderweb gussets, little brass knuckles on the back, kind of give it a little bit of a custom flair to it. Looking at the exhaust, that's one of the things we're going to change up. This used to have a little better exhaust, 2-in-1, and it had a little performance to it. As you can see now, the bike's been kind of cut and chopped and modified. And these exhaust pipes are sort of, looks like just kind of an afterthought that happened. And we're gonna go through that and redo it, make it look nice so that it runs good, sounds good, performs well. You got the old 4-speed kicker cover, the old Harleys like that, and this one's gonna be a jockey shift 4-speed. And we got some mid controls on this one, where normally you'd have some from forward controls to run all that. Does have a magneto, so no battery in this bike. It runs right off the magneto for its spark. S&S carb on it, a Spartan Springer, riveted Springer up front, which is kind of cool, the 21-inch spoolie. So this bike here, really, it does mean a lot to me. It has a good personal connection because it's the first Panhead I ever built. First bike I did with my students to really get the chopper class going. It was in my book. And this bike has changed hands and traveled a lot in its lifetime. Initially, when I built it, I never planned on selling it, but as you know, things happen, life changes, you have kids. I had to get rid of it to help get our family in a better place, this property here. And I went to a good friend of mine, Josh Arment, and he had it for a number of years. And then we had another friend, Jason Momoa, in town, filmed some Harley videos. He ended up buying the bike, took it to California the last couple of years, and just sent it back down here this May and gave it to my son for his 19th birthday as a gift. So pretty cool. A lot of history on this, a lot of sentimental value to me. It's really cool to see that the bike came back home, and it's going to be something that my son's going to be able to ride, and I'm going to be able to enjoy riding next to him, seeing him on it. And I'll be remembering all the stories I had on it and all the trips I took on it. And hopefully he's going to make the same memories, and maybe this will go to one of my grandkids or his son someday. So a lot of cool things with this bike, a lot of history, a lot of soul, a lot of heart.